Menopausal and perimenopausal women, listen up. It's time to take control of your health and comfort, and Winona is here to help. Winona is a telemedicine company for menopause care who believes that your symptoms are real, important, and deserve to be taken seriously. And for many women, this starts with hormone replacement therapy. Winona's HRT is made with plant-based, bioidentical hormones rather than synthetic ones, so it better aligns with your body to offer relief from hot flashes, weight gain, and other uncomfortable symptoms. 80% of women who use Winona find relief within just 90 days. So, what are you waiting for? Get started today. Visit buywinona.com today to start your free visit. With free shipping and the ability to pause or cancel at any time, your path to wellness has zero obligations. Use code SPRING24 at buywinona.com for 25% off your first treatment plan. That's BYWINONA.com for 25% off. Winona. Menopause care made easy. Summer is the season of hot temperatures, outdoor adventures, and refreshing water activities. Summer is also the season of rough on your feet, causing dry, cracked heels and toes. Introducing Babyfoot, the original exfoliation foot peel that contains 16 natural extracts formulated to remove dead skin cells in 3 easy steps. Apply the booties, relax for an hour, then wash your feet. In 14 days, you've got baby smooth skin and your feet have never been softer. Letting dead skin cells build up over time is hazardous to your foot health. Our professional-grade DIY products, like our original exfoliation foot peel, our men's foot peel, or our moisturizing mask, are some of the best foot care products on the market, created with your foot health in mind. Pamper yourself with a spa day from the comfort and convenience of your own home with Babyfoot. If you want a chemical-free, easy-to-use exfoliating process from the company that created the original foot peel, it's time to treat yourself to Babyfoot. Go to babyfoot.com and use the code SUMMERFEET24 and get 20% off your first order with Babyfoot. That's babyfoot.com and use the code SUMMERFEET24.
Hello, this is Becky Feldman, and welcome to another episode of Hot as Hell with TSTL. TSTL stands for Too Stupid to Live, which reviews romance novels $5 and under, and Hot as Hell episodes are where I interview and hang with authors and other figures in the world of romance. And I couldn't be more excited about today's guest, Em Stevens. She is so fucking funny and frank, and you are going to love this episode. And FYI, we do talk via Skype, so the audio is going to reflect that. Anyway, Em was introduced to me by Graham High, who you may remember helped me review Priest by Sierra Simone. He has a wonderful voice, along with his beautiful wife, Shauna McGarry. And Em is the author of MM and MMF, I can never say that, MMF, Erotic Romances. And I can't rave enough about her latest book, Watch Her Burn. It is so unlike other romances. Like, I full on cried. Like, where the red fern grows style cried. So if you're like, oh man, I'm a cold-hearted person and I need a good cry, read Watch Her Burn. And we also review one of her first books, Trashy, which is written under the pen name Penny Lamb, and it is available for $3.99. And by the way, as of today, I was just looking at the number of reviews the book has, and it currently has 69. And you know what? I think that is a good sign that this episode of TSTL is going to be hot as hell.
Work in my pajamas, and I get to talk about penises all day. Or vaginas, depending on the pen name.
Well, listen, I think that's a really good segue for us to get started. Welcome to Too Stupid to Live.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
I want to get started. I just want to know, all about you, where you're from, how you got started loving romance, and then writing romance.
Okay, right. So I feel like I'm on a first date.
Me too.
Well, so I'm from North Carolina. I've been here most of my life. Although I spent 4 years in Texas, like the first 4 years of my life, and somehow still consider myself a Texan, because that's how that works. And then I did not start out wanting to be a writer. I wanted to be about 500 things. I had more different things in college, and I went to more schools than Sarah Palin, and it just I ended up getting a degree in liberal studies, and I cannot tell you what that means, except that it's for people like me who can't decide. and they just want to get you out of the system. But I did start reading Twilight like everybody else, and I had that duality of, wow, I could write better than this, but also I loved it. I read all of those books. I've read them multiple times. I have no shame about it, because Stephanie Meyer managed to connect to 14-year-old me in a positive note. Like, you never hear people say, oh, I really want to relive 14. But she managed to make me want to be that age again, where like love is the only thing that matters, and like sex is the most important thing. And so after that, I kind of became hooked on romance, and I read everything. And then from there, it became a progression to writing fan fiction. So my origins as a writer, fan fiction.
That's awesome.
Yeah, thanks. It was very specifically anime fan fiction. So I wrote from a anime called Naruto. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I wrote a lot of slash fiction and a lot of MM, so male on male. And it was very fun. And from there, it kind of expanded into creating my own worlds.
So what made you be really interested in writing MM fiction?
I have always loved MM and didn't know that was a thing until I came across fanfiction.net. And then I realized it is very much a all capitals thing. And everybody likes to feel like they're coming home to their people. Also, I love hentai, which it's so embarrassing to say out loud. There was an episode of Working Moms recently, or one of the moms, they were talking about their kinds of porn, and that was her kind of porn, was hentai. And I thought, I really get this. Like, so that's where MM is usually written by straight women for straight women. It's kind of, I guess, the pushback to all of the dudes loving lesbian porn. And so, yeah, I loved it. I loved mashing characters that should not be together and seeing what happens.
Yeah.
And that kind of carries over. Yeah.
For sure. Like, it's so funny. Like, I read Trashy, which we're going to talk about, like, right after I read A Reverse Harem. And when I was reading the Reverse Harem, none of the guys were hooking up with each other. And it made me so angry. Well, not angry. It was like, because I had read like thruples and polyamorous books before, but it was all about the men pleasing the woman. But in that particular book, I was like, these men should hook up with each other. And then we read Trashy, and I was like, nice.
Yes. Yeah, I had to learn that people want you to label your books very specifically. I had originally put it as an MFM, male, female, male, because I just assumed that as long as you mentioned all the genders, you were good. And somebody very politely wrote and said, no, this is if the men have any connection sexually, then it's an MMF. And so then learning how to search helped me find the books that I wanted to read. Because initially Trashy was me, trying to do a take on the billionaire trope and saying, I think that blue-collar men are super sexy. Coming back to that was writing something that I wanted to read. And now that I know how to search it, my Kindle is filled.
That's awesome. So, okay, you were writing slash fiction. So what was the segue from writing anime slash fiction to romance? Sure.
It was Reddit. It was Reddit. It was 2013, and somebody had posted, I think she goes by Audrey Rose now, but she had posted the thing that said, I make $1,000 a month writing short smut. And I was at a point where I was finishing my master's degree in, again, liberal studies, because I didn't learn my lesson with undergraduates. What will really help me get far in this world is a master's degree in this subject that nobody knows. And so she said, I'm making $1,000 writing short smut. And she wrote a really interesting post with links to forums that were all about writing 4,000 to 5,000 word short stories that were just high sex, low plot. And when you're, just coming out of school and you're poor and you also really love sex and porn, you're like, oh, that is a great way to just tide me over until my big career starts. But 2013 ended up being, I think, one of the last years that was really a sustainable income. And so I came into it very late. And I also made a ton of mistakes since I had never written before. And so it is how I branched into it. But very quickly, I realized that I wanted more plot. I liked the steamy sex, but I always wanted the motivations that got there beyond like to bone. And so I found that writing longer helped. And that's when I started expanding into full-length novels.
Cool. And what was your first novel? Was it trashy or was it trashy?
No. My first novel is terrible. I mean, people can find it if they want, but it is Lost in His Woods. And it initially was it was a story that I ran over 5 short ones that I combined into a novel. I tried to edit it a couple of years ago. So now that I know more about writing, what if I rewrite it, put it out there again? And I couldn't even get through the first chapter. I was like, nope, this is too much work. I'm just going to leave it. But it was an amnesia trope where she woke up in Siberia, like naked and freezing to death. And this Russian American sweeps in and takes her to his cabin. And the best part of the premise is that he used to be a torturer for the mob, but he specialized in sexual torture. So I wrote that, and I think more than anything, when I put all the words to the separate sections together, and I was like, oh, wow, this is 65,000 words. Like, that's a novel. I just wrote a novel. And that's when it really clicked for me, that this was something that I could do. But because it was segmented, I knew that it didn't flow very well. And I was like, well, what if I just write this length to start? So that was my first novel. And Trashy was I want to say that it was my 8th or 9th novel.
Yeah, that's great. So when you were starting to like go into writing novels, were there any like other like novelists that were inspiring to you?
Oh, yeah, there were a ton. Selena Kitt was one of the first kind of real inspirations that I had. She was writing what I like to read, which was definitely more like high heat, taboo romances. She had a really great May, December, like Screwing My Best Friend's Dad romance that was just, it was so absurd and wonderful. I mean, I remember reading it and needing a cold shower after, but also mind blown, And so she was a big one. But I also, I tend to like just a lot of generalized authors. Delilah Dawson had a Blood series that I really loved. And then I ended up reading Larissa Ione, and she had this Demonica series. And I never read paranormal, like high heat romance. And it was also traditionally published. And so I think seeing that it was not just an indie thing, but also this was something that people wanted to read, really helped fuel me and inspire me to start putting more of myself into my books.
And so, like, how has, like, everything changed for you now that you have put out so many books and you are now, like, an author?
Right. Yeah, I suffer from a lot of imposter syndrome. I mean, I think most people do.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah. It's little things. So, like, my father used to edit for me. Like, he edited those first stories. I remember he edited my take on my original Billionaire story. And I laughed so hard because the final note was, "This is really good. BDSM is not my cup of tea." And I thought, okay, well, I can make somebody who is related to me and part of my genetic material like a book that contains not his cup of tea, then this feels good. And so, yeah, I think it's just indie writing is really interesting because you have to make a choice about quantity over quality occasionally. It's very pulpy. And once I committed to the idea that I was very comfortable writing pulpy fiction and that there were going to be mistakes occasionally, I just fell in love with it because it has that fan fiction addictive quality. You can binge read the way that you binge watch like Game of Thrones. But also you get to kind of dial everything up. I mean, I think at one point I had an editor who was like, can you please stop setting things on fire? Because I had arson like 5 books in a row. You need to find a new way to challenge your characters. And I was like, but a fire is challenging no matter where you are in life.
And also, like, your latest book is Burned for Her, so.
Right, exactly. I went back to it.
Yeah.
Because you can turn fire into an apt metaphor for anything.
Oh, sure. So, like, how hard or easy is it for you to come up with new ideas?
I think it's really easy to come up with ideas. I think it's very difficult to figure out which ones are good ones. I tend to fall in love with the most absurd ideas. And so I have on another pen name, I write urban fantasy. And I have a series that's based on a paranormal dentist. And because I was like, well, what would be the most boring job, even if you were in this werewolf vampire world? And I was like, dentist. Being a dentist is never interesting. And what if people's mouths are so jacked up? And then I was like, well, a vampire's mouth, we always see clean, straight teeth and vampires in movies, but they're 600 years old. And I was like, well, they did not have fluoride then. So I refuse to believe that your smile is this charming.
Can you please move out to LA and write a TV show? Oh my God.
I would love to. Yes.
That is so fucking funny and so true. And like right when we're done, I'm going to read those books. That's amazing. It's a thrilling idea.
Yeah, thank you. And so, yeah, that's, for me, it's I have a lot of ideas. It tends to be very absurd. Watch Her Burn was one where I was like, what if you got divorced and kind of like fucked your ex's twin sister? Because it was a bit of that take on the twin trope where, but also like a fun twist because I wanted to make it a romance. And so, yeah, I like to take things that should not work and make them work.
Yeah, it just seems like you like really like are the author who just says, well, what if, and then you answer the question.
Yeah, and I think that's it. And I've tried really hard to write mainstream novels, and it just does not work out for me because eventually, again, I set things on fire. I'm pretty sure that something blows up in those werewolf novels.
Just so everyone knows, there is a fire behind Em right now in her room, and so it's just blazing.
Sure. It's like the version of method acting. This is method writing.
I'm gonna burn my apartment down when this is over. Okay.
Firing, do it.
Okay, so Burn for Her is your latest book. I have to say, I Beaches style cried reading this book.
Oh, cute. That's a really good compliment. Yeah, it's not my normal book. It's definitely less humorous, and on M, I tend to have a lot of geeky references throughout it. The first book that I wrote on this pen name was a Dungeons and Dragons romance. Because, again, I was like, well, who would read Lesbians and Dungeons and Dragons? And it ended up being a #1 bestseller in that category. So apparently a lot of people. But this one, not to be like a bummer on your podcast, but my father died in September, and I have just not wanted to write happy. Like, not traditionally. Romance tends to be an escape for me. I think that's why a lot of people read it. It's why you write it. I'm surprised that so many people poo-poo it if you're reading sci-fi, fantasy, or like anything large, you're still doing the same thing. If you're reading fiction, you're escaping. But for this romance, it definitely took a not funny turn. It was much more serious. I'm approaching 40. I've been married to my husband since I was 21. He was also the first person that I ever dated more than 3 months. It's a very lackluster love story, and it's wonderful, and I'm happy. But I always thought about writing the things that, kind of creep into your head at night, which is like, I've been married to one person for a very long time. I have so little experience. Like, this might be the rest of my life. And for me, I always wake up being like, oh, yeah, that's fine. Okay. Sometimes I will have a book boyfriend, like a temporary cheat, or a book girlfriend, but always I come back to. But I was like, but I can't believe that other people are satisfied with this. And so that's where that quest started, where I was like, okay, well, what if you divorced at a time when it's so difficult to think about dating again? And then, because I'm a stay-at-home mom, I was like, well, what if you're divorcing and your children are going to move out of the house? What do you do? Like, what is your life? And I don't know. Yeah, it was definitely much more personal than my normal books. I'm glad you liked it. I'm glad I made you cry, because, it's hard to write.
Yeah, I mean, I can't believe how moved I was by it. And I'm not going to lie, I think, I was trying to think of reasons why this book made me cry more than other books. Well, not I was invested in this story. Was because that the heroines were older than 28 years old and they have a history.
Right. Well, yeah, part of it too is that, I have the person in my past that was a really good friend that I always thought something more might happen with, but it never did. And I learned to be satisfied with that. But it is really gluttonous to enjoy the idea of, well, maybe later, what if it happens and you're actually old enough to appreciate it, right? Because when you're 14 and you fall in love with your best friend, it's probably going to wreck your friendship, and there's going to be drama and, that sort of stuff. But if you're 50, there might still be those things, but I think that you're older and able to kind of address it.
Yeah.
Hopefully. Right.
I mean, and what I really loved about it is that it got messy, it wasn't, it didn't feel salacious, wink, wink, she's sleeping with her ex-husband's sister. It really was this very intense family drama.
Yeah. It was hard not to make it that way. Or not to just, I tried initially. I actually tried to make it a full-on romance initially, where it just worked. And I just thought, there's no way. This is completely unbelievable. I mean, it's a kind of a far-fetched idea anyway. But in order for it to, A, be believable, and B, to be meaningful, it had to be dirty. And not in the wink-wink way, but messy, because divorce is hard, and starting new relationships is hard at any age, and especially if you're packed with history, because you don't want to make a mistake. But you also, I have to imagine that people get tired too of dating, and
they do. Don't trust me, they do.
I have to imagine that you want simplicity, and that it's so hard to find. And even when you try for it, it's probably a facade.
Yeah. And I just feel just everything, the shit hit the fan very much in this story. Things didn't work out easily, and there was I mean, I'm sure I'm going to kind of spoil the end, but there's a while where you really feel like our two protagonists aren't going to be together, more so than most books.
Right. So originally they weren't going to. Again, I kind of went on this verge where I thought, how would you work this out? If your nieces, your nephews are suddenly supposed to maybe call you second mom. I mean, that's really bizarre. So, and I also, it's very important to me in romances. The romances that I read that are the most gluttonous and enjoyable are the ones where characters don't have a lot of character growth and they need the other person so desperately to complete them. But I don't actually feel that way in real life. And this did tend to be a little bit more realistic novel for me. And so I thought, well, they would never be able to work if they didn't have to work through things and become comfortable with themselves first. Especially Meg, the protagonist, was just in a place where she had never had to make her own decisions or be her own person. And I thought, well, if she jumped right into this relationship, is she really going to grow at all? And the answer was no. And so I wanted to force them apart. But then, I don't know, I'm a sucker.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. happily ever afters are just a necessity.
Yeah, if like it wasn't, I would have been like so disappointed. So disappointed.
Right. Well, you're right. I'm not trying to win a Pulitzer. Yeah. So it's okay if I stretch the bounds of believability a little bit. I mean, and also, again, we talked about escapism. You need that happily ever after. Like, I'm pretty bummed by everything else. So when I read, I don't mind being challenged, but I need to know that there's a safety at the end.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Because there is
like promises that.
Absolutely. Yeah, because it is like, when you were talking about people go to science fiction or regular, like not regular fiction, but like sci-fi, there is like an expectation and an escapism that like romance also has, it's the same thing.
Right. And then you have things like Ice Planet Barbarians by Ruby Dixon.
I loved it so much.
It's so good, right? And you just look at this cover and this title and you think, what am I getting into? And the answer is magic. It's magic.
Everything about it just worked out so well. I've been recommending it to literally everyone.
Yeah, I think it's fun because when you recommend it, people think you're joking. And then most of my friends who read it are like, oh, no, you weren't joking. This is seriously a satisfying read. And it's like, I know.
Yeah. Well, okay. So in Burn for Her, you made a use of a lot of flashbacks. And I was just like curious about like what made you choose that like kind of creative route?
So it's a bit of a hack. Like, let's just call it what it is. Flashbacks are a hack where you're giving history and backstory without having to find a way to force it in otherwise. Mm-hmm. And so for me, I just felt like I really wanted to justify their relationship. And I wanted people to know that Jamie had been in love with Meg for a little while in that very middle school, early high school crush way. But I also wanted them to see her grow into a comfortable friend. Because I just thought the idea of somebody pining for 50 years, very uncomfortable for me. And so I was like, I think that somebody would be able to accept it and grow, or they wouldn't be best friends. Like, those are your options. The flashback for me was just giving them a history without me having to find ways to work it in. I tend to write very dialogue heavy, and I could just see these like long chapters of exposition. Remember when we did this thing and we felt those things? Mm-hmm. Right. It was a hack.
Well, I loved it because I think like what made me like cry was the final flashback where she was there for April's birth.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I love and that to me felt very real. I mean, I've had friends where, life got in the way of a spouse being able to get there in time. You can't actually control these things. And some people have 50-hour labors and, everybody is there. And other people, sometimes it's just a nurse. So I loved the idea of solidifying for them that they're so close that this is somebody that you would want at the birth of your child.
So I have a question for you. In regards to like writing sex scenes, I feel like a lot of the authors that I've run into are always like, it's a challenge to write a sex scene differently every time.
Yes. And that's true. Especially, I think, in MF romance, male-female, because stakes tend to be so high, especially people who want to read a heated novel. You're kind of coming up with like ridiculous things. And again, when my dad edited for me, I remember seeing notes that were so carefully phrased. Like, is this physically possible? This doesn't seem very comfortable. I don't want to know if you've tried this, but have you? Can you verify this is a thing people would want? But you're just trying to raise the bar and keep things different enough. One of the things that I really enjoy about writing lesbian fiction is that I feel that there's more room for creativity. And it's not because women have to be more creative to get pleasure. I just think that there's an ability to be creative. It's very fun, and it tends to be very mutually pleasure focused, less taking, more giving. And so I enjoy that. That being said, in Watch Her Burn, I feel like I tried to turn that on its head a little bit, and it was very much back to taking for both of them initially, and then working their way back into giving.
Oh yeah, for sure. Because I mean, the first sex scene that they have is very hot, but it was like, very animalistic. They were drunk, They like Meg had an amazing orgasm, but yeah, there was such a sadness to it.
Right. Well, I think, again, maybe I went a little too realistic with the novel, but I mean, let's be real. All of our sex can't be Bella and Edward's first time. It's not going to be earth-shattering. I remember learning about losing your virginity through romance books. And so the first time I had sex, I really did think it would be like a moment of pain and then all of the pleasures. I'm going to just say it was not like that at all. It was awful. I cried. I felt so bad because it was very much like and him, I'm sorry. It was just awful. And so I think when I was writing that scene, I thought, well, yeah, this is something that they both sort of thought about, but needed the alcohol to give themselves an excuse. But you're older. You're going to know you shouldn't be doing it. It's complicated. Complicated sex is the best sex.
Yeah, for sure. Because it is, there is something that's like, you're breaking the rules a little bit yeah.
Right. If it comes with I don't know if I should, then yes, you definitely should. You will regret it, but only in the base level.
And it's what we want to read. Like, we want drama.
Right. Exactly. You kind of want to read somebody making a bad choice, but it turning out okay.
Yeah. Which was definitely this. Do people ask you this question? And I'm so worried as to how this question comes out, but like, do you face challenges writing men on men sex scenes?
I don't, because I know that my target audience isn't gay men.
Right.
I would feel much more, a lot more anxiety over it if I thought that I was writing for a gay audience, because I really have no idea what gay sex is like. I will never know. And so when I'm writing MM, I know that my audience is somebody that also will never know. There's something called impreg, where people will even write this Omega-verse thing where men are magically able to get pregnant and have children. I mean, this is your audience.
Yeah.
And that's not to put them down. When you're writing for this audience that they're not looking for accuracy. They're looking for high heat, and sometimes things that would not actually, like fisting is not probably something that they've actively pursued, but reading it is super sexy.
Oh, yeah.
You can make anything sound totally comfortable and like a great idea.
Well, it's funny, like when I have like guests on the show who are gay and they like will read a gay romance, that a lot of them say like, oh yeah, this is how it is. Like, they've done their research,
Oh, well, good. I mean, I was sure I've certainly read a lot. I've watched a lot. But I also try to keep in mind that it is fiction, but I also don't think that the way that people write MF sex is realistic. So really, what does it matter?
You're right. I mean, it is just, yes, you're right. Like, even though sex has been like that for someone, I'm sure, but...
There's kind of like this running joke with a lot of the lesbian authors that I'm friends with about scissoring. Like, scissoring is so much work. It is not worth it. Like, nobody spends their night being like, what I really want to do is scissor. And so, but like the most that people do scissor is scrapbooking. And so like, but there's this idea that that's somehow the epitome of hot lesbian sex. So it's the same kind of thing. I think you write something that's sexy on paper and sexy in your mind because you physically don't need to be a yoga star. You can just read it and pretend you are.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I feel like I want to segue into Trashy.
Oh, yes.
So Trashy, so you kind of touched on it, that it was kind of like a billionaire romance was your inspiration for it. But yeah, if you want to talk more about how you came up with the idea.
Right. So I tried to write billionaire romance, and I just never could get the trope down. And so then Alexa Riley is a very prominent author. She writes short, smutty, fun novellas. And she had put out Trailer Park Virgin, and I loved it. I read it. I was like, oh, my God, this is just amazing. And it played a little bit more on what we call pseudo-incest, which is step siblings or stepfather. I'm not comfortable writing that, even though I love to read it. And so I wanted to do something similar, but I thought, okay, well, what if it's just two friends? What if they're not at all related to her? But there's like an age gap, and there's this poverty quality, and I kind of fell in love with writing it. But the story kind of took me by surprise as I was plotting it, because originally it was just going to be very short, super smutty, and then I just kind of kept going.
Yeah, it was great. Well, for people who don't know, the story takes place like in a trailer park. It's about a young girl whose mother wants to force her into prostitution at 18 years old, and she runs away, and she escapes to a neighboring trailer with Shep and Buck, who take her in.
Yes, they do. It definitely has the play. The title's a play on the trashy romance thing, because it was right before summer when I wrote it, or around summer, and I thought that's what I want to read. I want to read something that doesn't need to make sense, that is very tacky. Mm-hmm. And so and I actually have the blurb pulled up.
Ooh.
Oh, yes. So, and it says, warning, this is the standalone because series were very big at the time, but I had no interest in continuing this. MFM novel is the trashy romance you've been waiting for. It's Becky. Turning 18 was supposed to mean escaping the trailer park and the shadow of her mom's job, the world's oldest profession. But then her mother gives Becky an ultimatum: work on her back or live on the streets. Suddenly, Becky is out of options. Buck, because that's a name that happens often. Beers and babes, the two B's are all Buck needs to be happy. That is until he and his roommate save the prettiest little thing in the park, inviting her into their trailer and their beds. Now Buck's wondering if the two things he needs to be happy are the people he could lose all too easily. Shep. In a park with nosy neighbors and a long memory, Shep can't outrun his reputation. Bitter and jaded, he relies on Buck's friendship, hoping soon he'll get the hell out of Dodge. That is until little Vicky and Buck show him that there's love even in the trashiest corners of the earth. His reputation, though, threatens to unravel everything. Just as they start to build their family, a murder in the park turns everything upside down. Vicky's troubles, Buck's faith, and Shep's dark past collide, testing their love and their trio. Can their unconventional relationship help them survive the fallout in a town where unearthed secrets can get you killed? The end.
Did you write that blurb on your own? I've always been curious.
Yes, I did. I hire blurb writing services because it's such an art, and it is, I think, one of the most difficult parts of the job. Mm-hmm. But I had modeled that blurb after 321, which is a J.A. Huss novel, and if you want another just incredibly sexy MMF book, I highly recommend it.
Okay, 321.
Yes, 321. It is so sexy.
It sounds, the numbers already sound great. So, okay, when you were formulating the characters for Trashy, how did you, what was your initial ideas for how these three characters were going to be and their trajectories in the book?
Right. So I think because I knew that I was writing kind of an absurd quality, it was okay to go very heavy on two-dimensional outlines for your characters. So we have this young, sweet, blonde naive thing. And of course I had her read books because I didn't want her to be too stupid to live. but it was, I wasn't putting a lot of thought into that. And then Buck and Shep, the most important thing for me was that it didn't feel like you were reading the same dude just flipped twice. And so I tried to give, one dark and broody with the beard and the other happy-go-lucky. And then as I was writing them, I was like, okay, but if I do this, then we're going to make the happy-go-lucky one be the one that's maybe a little bit more of a misogynist in the bedroom. Mm-hmm. Not in I hope, a bad way, but in that secret gluttonous way. And that the other guy was going to be a little bit more, I'm dark and brooding, but I'm also sweet and sensitive. Heart, we all love it.
Yeah. And what made you decide to also, make Shep and Buck hook up, as opposed to, other stories that I've read where it's the men pleasing the woman only?
I think part of it was because I was writing kind of very stereotypical redneck territory. I wanted to create a level of conversation that we don't see there, or if we see it, it's done not poorly, but very superficially. It's solely for the ha-ha moment. And I didn't want them to be a ha-ha thing, oh, ha-ha, two rednecks kissing, isn't that hilarious? Because I don't think it's hilarious. And I do live in a part of the country where I think that there's probably still a lot of repressed people. And I wanted to write something where they could just not get over the societal pressures, but accept that they're there and decide it's worth it to move past it.
Right. Yeah. Because I really enjoyed, seeing that happen. And I enjoyed watching the town, their, trailer park or the town see that happen, especially when
right.
They were in a situation where they needed to show their love for one another, when the coal mine, crashed.
Yeah. Right. I have to say, I think that the people are less concerned than we believe they are. I mean, not individually. I mean, I know that there's still 100 stories probably just in my city of people who really would not feel safe coming out. But I also think that in small communities like that, people actually care much less than you think they do. They want the drama, but not the effort that it takes to be hateful and nasty after.
Yeah. That's so interesting.
That being said, I guess caveat, I don't want to minimize anybody's situation or, the way that coming out can be dangerous, for some people.
Yeah.
But we're writing a romance. You kind of want to pave it into a happier ending.
Yeah. I mean, it was just so great seeing the good people in their world accept them, and it was nice.
Yeah. And I think we've all seen those people that are best friends for forever. And we've all had that question really? Are you, just best friends? Is more going on? If you're me, you really hope something more is going on. Mm-hmm. Right. So I kind of wanted to include that in there.
Yeah. And I just liked how it progressed, you saw that even regardless of Vicky being there, you did see that Shep and Buck did have something more than friendship even before she came into the picture.
Right. I think what I wanted to do is build their friendship so that it was in a way codependent. And there was no way that they were each going to be able to happily be with a girl separately.
Yeah.
Also, I just really adore polyamory. I think it's a fun idea.
It's so great. I really enjoy seeing it more and more in books and just showing love is way more than we think it is.
Right. It's right. And again, and also it's fantasy. And I love the fact that we're seeing that people's fantasy is, we're admitting to these things. Some people like tentacles. Some people like
ice planet barbarians.
Right. Exactly.
Blue horned men.
I think that we're talking about it and we're finding a lot of people, I think with their fetish, think it's just them. It's only me that likes feet, or it's only me that wants to wear a diaper and, and it's embarrassing or whatnot. But then thanks to the internet and now thanks honestly to indie publishing, you see that no, there's a lot of people who share this. It's a fetish. It's a fantasy for a reason.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
So a quick question, like what made you interested in like indie publishing as opposed to like another like publishing house or something?
Sure. It was just entirely self-serving. I needed to make money fast. And, the traditional publishing takes a very long time. Also, if I'm honest, if I had tried to get traditionally published when I started, I absolutely would not have. Like those stories were not up to par. I do think now I'm kind of on the cusp of wanting to traditionally publish. I think that it would be good to work with an editor who's not myself or my family. I think it will help me grow as an author. But indie publishing gives you a lot of control because you don't have anybody telling you no. And sometimes that is a bad thing. Like sometimes we read books and we think, oh my God, somebody needed to tell this person, doesn't work. But a lot of the times publishing houses are chasing trends the way that we are, which means they might miss a market that is there and desperate for books. I think that actually, because we see so many MM and FF books in indie publishing, traditional publishing houses are taking notice. And they're like, oh, LGBTQA fiction does not have to be high literature and, huge existential things. Maybe it can just be the love is love and fun. We can have frou-frou romance with anybody. So I think indie publishing for me allowed me to get over the hurdle of, is this good enough? Because it really didn't matter.
Yeah.
Honestly. And then now I want to be better. I've gotten to a point in my career where I think I've published now 15 novels over various pen names. And I think it's time to grow. And the only way for me to grow is to have other people saying no.
That's such a,
right?
That's such a great perspective to have, I think, for a lot of people who want to do something creative, just knowing that, being met with like people telling you no is just what you need to like continue to like explore and find a way to make them say yes and be true to yourself.
Right. I think what's really interesting about indie publishing too is, I definitely find that there's a lot of different perspectives about it. I'm very good friends with my local bookstore. I love my local bookstore. It's difficult for them to carry my books because they're published through Amazon. It's basically paying your enemy to host their goods.
Right.
So that's something that's always kind of been on my mind as well as I try to move my world more local, is that I'm kind of giving Jeff Bezos and his alien empire like total control over my life. The other thing too is that indie publishing has gotten a lot more expensive. I think a lot of people have this misconception that it's very cheap, and it can be. I mean, you see people who are able to make a huge career without spending a lot of money. But in a lot of the genres that are the most popular, what you're not seeing is that these indie authors are dropping $600 on a cover. They're dropping $2,000 on editing. They're paying $5,000 upfront on advertising. They basically are little publishing houses and spending that level to get popularity. And I know that I'm not in a place where that's a comfortable decision for me to make, and a lot of people aren't. And so that's, when I first started in indie publishing, it was not the case. You could just throw something up there, and you're going to see some feedback.
Yeah.
But now, if I'm going to be competing with people who basically are on par with a publishing house, me personally, I'd rather have a publishing house backing me.
Yeah.
And it's because I'm terrible at editing. I'm terrible at marketing myself.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, I give you, so much credit for, doing this all on, independently, for 15 novels on your own.
Yeah, thank you. But let's think about it, because I can decide when a novel's done, right? Mm-hmm. So if I write a novel in 8 weeks, which is granted fast, but that's a first draft, I can decide whether I'm going to do a second pass or a third pass or a fourth pass, and all these things that authors do to really tweak their work. But with self-publishing, because, again, it tends to be quantity over quality, a lot of times what you get is an editing pass, and then you're done, and it's out, and 8 weeks later you can look to a new novel. So you are writing very quickly, and you're probably writing enjoyable stories. But if we're talking about craft on some kind of like basic level, so.
Yeah. Okay, well, back to Trashy, because I got very sidetracked about indie publishing. Do you want to read like a sexy excerpt from it?
I will read a sexy excerpt from it.
I'm so excited to hear you read.
It took me a little while to figure out which one. Okay, so this is the first night after Vicky has been taken in by these two men. It's her birthday. She's just turned 18. The door hinge whines as I hear the bare feet pad through the dark. The springs of the mattress groan. Ship, you should be sleeping, Vicky. Her hand brushes my chest and I shiver a little. It's so small. Everything about her is small and round and soft. I know, but don't you want me in here? I roll to my side, making room for her on my full-sized mattress. Never before have I regretted bachelor living as much as this moment. She deserves a king-size bed and sheets made of silk and whatever else those rich assholes have to pamper themselves, even in sleep. Is this okay? She whispers, but Vicky is already curling up beside me, her head tucked into the nook of my shoulder and my chest. My grunt is non-committal, but I'm elated. Hell yes, this is okay. My heart is torn. What would Buck think? Would he be mad? We've never fought about a woman before. Hell, I don't think we fought since my grandma died. He started this. He's the one who got her on her knees first. He won't take care of her like you will, so shut up and let her choose you. Is there a choice? I wasn't about to talk about it to anyone or hell, even think about it. But when we'd been all over Vicky earlier, it hadn't bothered me that Buck was there. And should have. I should have walked away and let him have her. I had every chance. Instead, I fell right into it, into him and his weird, perverted shit. And it felt natural, normal. Somehow that feels more dangerous than a fight for her. Her fingers stroke my beard, seeking comfort rather than trying to give it. I feel better nonetheless. I don't have conditioner or a toothbrush. The paper-thin quality of her voice breaks me inside. Just the clothes you took from me and a little money. We can get you what you need. I know you'll take care of me. It's just that last night I had those things, a toothbrush and a conditioner and a bed that was mine. Tonight I don't have them and I'm happier than ever. Does that even make sense? And then I'm going to skip ahead because there's a little bit more, talk, but we want the sexy. Are you sure you're happy with this? I don't know what Buck said. He said I'd clean and cook for y'all while I get my feet on the ground, and then, well, I don't know. The tremor in her voice is killing me. I'm not saying it's what Buck meant, but it sounds an awful lot like what your mama is trying to get you to do tonight, Vicky. It ain't for the money, but I fumble, looking for words that aren't coming easy. I just want you to know you can say no anytime, and I won't think less of you. Will you think less of me if I say yes? Jesus, I'm in trouble. She sounds coy. I just grunt again, not knowing where things are going. She shifts up, her hair draping over my skin, tickling me in 100 different places. My hand cups her face, and I bring her down for a kiss. What her first kiss with us should have been. My tongue sweeps along her lip gently before seeking entrance into her sweet mouth. I go slow but firm. Little Vicky needs a teacher, someone who'll guide her in the way of men's bodies, but also her own. I can't promise to be gentle with her always, but I'll make a promise in my mind and my heart to never let her feel like her mother. Vicky melts like butter to my kiss, surrendering. She's eager and a little sloppy, pressing close, trying to speed things up. I love it, but I don't let her. Winding my fingers through her hair, I grasp it and pull her back. I love it when y'all do that, she hisses. Do what? Pull my hair. I wrench a little harder and she makes a pained squeak that has me letting go. What the fuck is wrong with me? I just promised to be gentle and already I'm trying to push her limits. No, she protests, nudging me with her head. Don't stop.
It's so good.
Why, thank you.
I forgot how, consent is in that.
Yeah. I haven't read this since 2017, and so I reread it for this. It's very different to read your own work with that space in between. I think in my mind, I had a lot less going on than I did.
Yeah.
And so reading it, I was like, oh, okay, I'm not terrible. Like, it was a good counter to that imposter syndrome.
I'm so glad this experience led you to that revelation. It's so great.
Yeah, it was really beneficial. I was reading it and I was like, oh, I could get a cold shower from this. Like, this is...
Oh, hands down. Their first sex scene, I was like, oh my God, it is going there. I mean, it felt like, when I watched exploitation films for the first time and was like, it's going there.
Yeah, it is. Yes. And I like, even though I realized I wrote it, I like that you feel a little guilty reading it. Mm-hmm. Right. That's part of the joy.
Yeah.
Right. And be like, I should not be liking this so much.
I definitely felt that way, especially, which I liked, that Vicky escapes and she enters, basically, she's kind of a sub-dom-dom relationship,
Right. And I do think that she wrestles with this idea of trying to escape her mom's prostitution while also, she is accepting this role where she's doing these things in exchange for a house. Mm-hmm. But there's enough emotions and want there that it doesn't feel like a tit for tat. It's more like a have your cake and eat it too situation.
Oh, absolutely. Because you really get a sense that Buck and Shep know what Vicky wants, and their goal as, her caretakers is to please her. And you get that. Right.
And I tried to make them, they're 10 years her senior. And so I do remember trying to make them old enough that it was a little bit taboo. And should they be chasing after an 18-year-old? Probably not. But at the same time, young enough that they could say, why wouldn't we? This basically fell into our laps, literally and figuratively.
Yeah, and 10 years isn't much of an age difference,
It's not, especially later. I know when you're 18, though, and especially because there's this whole idea of her trying to get out of the park and then being stuck in it. Mm-hmm. That I do think that we see a lot of that anyway, where, I still live in my hometown, and I remember at 14 saying, I'm going to get the hell out of this town and never come back. And instead, I bought my parents' house. And so, right, I failed in every way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, obviously.
Well, as far as escaping, at least. But, yeah, and so I felt like it was a good dynamic where it was a little bit taboo, but not gross.
Yes, it definitely, because I've read stepbrother, stepfather romance, and that was a little cold shower-y, and this was ooh, but I definitely didn't feel as guilty. Do you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, it's the right amount of exploitation.
Exactly. Yeah, it was and it was also the first sex scene was whoa, 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 and then it's great, I'm in it. After that was out of the way, I'm I'm loving the three of them.
I kind of feel like you need to come up with your equivalent of the Bechdel test, but it's the Feldman scale, and it's 1 to squick.
Uh-huh.
Does this book fall on 1 to no?
Yeah. Usually, I'm going to tell you that, very rarely is there a no.
Right, yeah. Yeah, it takes it takes, illegal in progressive states for it to be super...
Yeah, it would have to be. Or just not a romance. You know what I mean? It's if someone's here's Angela's ashes, I'm going to be well, this is no. It's not a romance.
This is going to score very poorly on the Feldman test.
It scores terribly.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I do have a part that I want to read aloud. It was the first time Buck and Shep kiss, which I really loved because, as I was saying, I was, after reading all of these polyamorous and reverse harem stuff where I really wanted to see the men kiss and get it on with each other. Right. I was so pleased to see that here. So I have this section where Buck and Shep are standing in front, like underneath the porch light in front of their trailer. Okay, and they're hugging. Okay. He releases his embrace a little, but doesn't step away. Somewhere in my mind, I know how dangerous it is for us to be like this, together, in the low yellow porch lamp, a fucking spotlight on things this part could never understand. But I've needed something. I've needed this right here, for so long, and I didn't even know it. I'm not backing away now that it's here just because of some peeping assholes who should learn to mind their own trailers. Buck's hand cups my cheek, his thumb slides over my cheekbone, and my skin burns beneath his touch. Then his mouth is there, crashing into mine, before I have the common sense to stop him. Kissing Buck isn't like kissing Vicky. With Vicky, it's all me guiding her soft lips, plundering her wet mouth with my tongue. She yields to me. Buck does not yield. Our kiss is bruising. It's a battle with teeth and tongue. There's no elegance, no seduction, just raw intensity. My fingers wind into his disheveled hair, and I'm thankful he keeps it so shaggy and long. When I fist it, he groans. It hits me that there's silence then. No dishes or activity in the kitchen. Even the song of the cicadas seems softer, muted. In Buck's arms, I feel exposed. Breaking the kiss, I shove him away, and it slams into me what we just did. There was the two of us. Buck had just dragged me and my heart-on across the line that we've been dancing around. If Vicky wants to leave, or he does, or we fight, or who the fuck knows, if anything happened before that kiss, we could have stayed friends. There's no friendship anymore. Or there is, but it's saturated with something else. It's tainted, stained with the passion I felt in that kiss, the way it felt so right and natural. We've crossed the line, and it terrifies me, because I can't lose them, not like that. When I glance at the trailer, I see Vicky in the doorway, her mouth dropped, and the trickle of fear I was feeling becomes a torrent. She said she liked it when Buck touched me, but two men kissing, that's different. That's not done around here. I wait for her shock to turn into disgust. Don't stop on account of me, she murmurs.
That was amazing.
So hot. So hot.
Thank you. I know. You read it, and I'm like, I realized that I wrote this, but again, it was so long ago. Yeah. So I've been thinking about the urban fantasy and a lot of that reverse harem, and I do think that the fantasy is that kind of, if you're identifying with the girl, this kind of gluttonous, everybody wanting you. Mm-hmm. But one of the things that I really like about this and MMF, or any versions of polyamory where there's actually polyamory, it's not just that one person is allowing two people to love them, but everybody is loving everybody, is that you get the idea that people are getting a true fulfillment. Mm-hmm. There's not going to be a rivalry. There's not going to be a constant choice, or and let's just be honest, reverse harem sounds so exhausting to me. Like that is so much sex that you would never be able to walk.
No. And
right?
Yes.
And so part of what I love about the MMF is this idea that like everybody is getting something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It does feel like equal almost. And I was also having a conversation with my friend about reverse harem and how is that the right term? Like, is harem a good choice of terms for it?
Right.
Right.
I can't argue if it is or isn't.
Same.
I know that it's definitely an empowerment thing.
I agree.
Definitely. Right. And so in that sense, it's very good. But yes. And I've read some reverse harems that are excellent and super sexy. And I've also read some where I felt exhausted. And also at some point, if there's more men than there are days in the week, you just have to stretch the lines of believability so much.
Yeah. It's so funny you say exhausted, because sometimes when I read them, or anything with group sex happening all day, I'm just like, when are these guys eating? They must be exhausted.
Right. Or lube.
Yes.
How much can you buy industrial vats of lube? Because you will need it.
Yeah. If it's a billionaire.
Yeah.
He gets his servant.
I picture this reverse harem dystopian novel where, like, the sea is littered with floating islands of used condoms, because that's how it would be if you just constantly going at it.
Yeah. I mean, it's insane.
Yes.
What is your feeling about, like, using condoms in romance versus not using condoms in romance?
I like using condoms in romance, and I like explaining if you're not using them and why. It does lend an air of believability, and I guess as a reader, when I read condomless sex, I expect a baby later. Like, I expect that to be a part of the plot.
Yeah,
and when it's not. And they're not dealing with things like infertility or anything else, I'm like, really? Because I did not learn a lot in 5th grade sex ed, but I learned enough. So I like to use condoms. I actually think that they're sexy if you do it right, because yes, nobody really loves the feel of condoms. I'm not sure. I'm sure there are, like, latex fetishists, but there's something I think that's really sexy about this ritual of preparation. You know, like, it's like the final consent, right? And so I like to use condoms in my writing if there's going to be any sort of penetration like that. One of the nice things about FF is that you don't have to, although now that I'm saying it, I think that maybe I should, because that's something that's not really talked about. But, you know, STDs, not picky.
No, yeah, there's a lot to just run around out there.
Or on this Kinsey scale.
You're gonna attract something. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how it works.
Yeah. So I used condoms in this, and I felt like that was important too, because it represents the choice. Like, at the end, spoiler alert, Becky and them decide to stop using condoms, and it's a deliberate decision. And I like this idea of, like, yes, this is something I want to do with you, and I understand the ramifications of the actions. Or sometimes in romance where you forget to, and it's like Knocked Up, the movie, where you're like, oh, whoops.
Yeah, it's weird. Like, I feel like when I read sex and there's no condoms, I'm just like, oh, okay. I guess this is, like, the author's choice. They don't choose to use condoms. But when that occurs now, I'm just like, oh, that's weird.
Do you find, I mean, I guess for me it's an element of, like, removing me from the story for a moment. If there's no condom, I cannot turn off the part of my brain that's like, uh-oh. And so it does remove me from the story for a moment, where I have to, like, be like, oh, okay, they're making a choice I wouldn't make. I no longer identify with this character.
Yeah.
Right. And so I guess that might be a fantasy for people. It's just not for me. I've had one baby, and that was enough.
I mean, here's the thing. Like, I feel like one of the first few books that I read, they did use condoms, and the heroine still got pregnant, which I know happens. And I think in my head, maybe that ingrained something in me that I'm just like, okay, condoms are condoms. You know, like, so when there isn't a condom, I, for some reason, don't assume, pregnancy, even though 9 times out of 10, that's what happens. Right.
And fair enough. And there's so many things that go into it. I do know that for me, when I read it, it does actually make it sexier for me, because there is a level of caring.
Yeah.
Like, even if it's caring for yourself, but there's enough, like, foresight, like, oh, I care enough about sharing intimacy and not crabs. Like, one thing is romantic and the other thing is itchy. And right.
Yeah, totally. I get it.
Yeah. I do understand why other authors choose not to. It's when you go back to those bodice rippers of the 80s and the 90s, there's not a lot of condom use. But a lot of them are also historical. I think that most of us came into romance via historical novels. And like that, it just didn't make sense. Everybody had a special tea you could drink.
Yeah.
Right? But now, if I'm reading something contemporary where I know that you don't even have to go into a store to buy like condoms, you can just order them online. So I just think there's no excuse anymore unless you're time traveling like Outlander.
Yeah. But even in Outlander, she teaches like there was one this was on the episode where she was like staying in a whorehouse and she was like teaching them like ways to like
Right,
like, to prevent. It was like monk root and like putting like a sponge in vinegar and sticking it up there. So it's like prophylactics have been around for quite a while.
Right. And it's just condoms can be made sexy. Sticking roots up your vagina, hard to say.
I agreed. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Like I'm kind of cringing at more like the yeast infection that will come later.
Yeah. Do you ever think, like, because this happens to me where I'm like, oh my God, this woman is having so much sex, she's going to get a UTI. I think that all the time.
Yes. Yeah. I read a book, I wish I could remember what, where the woman peed after sex every time.
Yes.
And she explained it. She's like, oh, well, I tend to have UTIs, and I've learned that this kind of helps. And I didn't know that, and I actually had this, like, today I learned moment, and I was like, that's a really helpful tip. I am so glad that they included this.
Oh, my God, I love that.
Yeah, it actually made it so much sexier, because in a way, I really like books where women have autonomy. Mm-hmm. And, like, it made her very conscious of her choice. Like, yeah, I'm going to have a lot of sex, but I'm also going to take care of me.
Yeah. It makes
not that one excludes the other, but right. You know, like it was, in order to keep having lots of sex, let's not go down UTI trail.
Yeah. It makes it realistic and in a way also aspirational too, you know.
Right. Yeah. Like, may we all be blessed with 0 UTIs.
Blessed. That would be great. Well, you know, in terms of this trashy, I have to say that, you know, I was thinking about it, and it is the anti-billionaire romance, but I have to say that, like, it was still, the book itself was still as aspirational as a billionaire romance, because I was like, oh no, like what we want isn't like a mansion and money, we want a house of love, whether it's a trailer or a mansion.
Yeah, thanks. I think that was kind of part of what I was going for, was learning to create dreams that aren't necessarily coming with dollar signs attached to them. I know that I struggle a lot with like what success means for me and whether to attach a dollar sign to it. Spoiler alert, authors don't make a lot of money necessarily. Like, we are not all James Patterson, but
there's only 12 12 James Pattersons.
At the same time, what merits success, and so that was actually a really easy thing to kind of put into their relationship and in the book, was because I was dealing with that at the same time. I had a lot of comparison syndrome. I had a lot of frustrations that I was working really hard and not seeing this direct economical payoff. But then, you know, I'll put a book out and it's really satisfying. Like, it's very satisfying to have a finished product. It's great when those first unsolicited reviews come in and they're positive. It's very cool when you get your first piece of fan mail. So those sorts of things make for success, even if I'm having like a shitty financial month. Like, I still have a lot of things. I can be like, look at this, for myself or for others. So I kind of wanted to write that into the book, where they didn't magically win the lottery. They did not get swept up by a reality TV show or something. There was a small degree of success in the sense that they didn't have to worry as much anymore, because I wanted it to be a happily ever after. But I didn't want it to be a miracle story where, yes, you can have everything. It's like you can have what's important.
And honestly, like, financial stability is a blessing, you know, and I think you really get that with this.
And that was really, I was like, stability can be enough. It doesn't have to be superfluous. Like, there doesn't need to be just dollar bills everywhere.
Yeah, and I think that's what made this book so special, you know?
Right, thanks. I mean, I love the billionaire stories, and I love this idea of being swept up with, like, boats and diamonds and, surprise dresses that cost more than my house. But at the same time, that's a fun fantasy. But when I was writing this, part of it was kind of creating something where like, oh, like we could have that. Like that's attainable.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
You need to find two hot 20-somethings eagerly want to make out with each other.
Yeah. I'm just thinking of my neighbors. No, I'm just kidding. Well, not really, but.
Guys, if you're listening, you could make out in the hallway.
Yeah. God, they're not home, but maybe I'll knock on their door.
Yeah.
Be like, your like neighbor who's 10 years older than you made salmon.
Oh, yes. Yeah. So I had that recently. This is unrelated to everything. It's just that like now I am the butler chef. So I was in the supermarket and I was looking at this guy. I was like, oh, he is so cute. And he was with this girl and I was like, they're cute. This would be great. And it clicked that they were probably 20s maybe. Mm-hmm. I was like, oh no, like that happened. Right. And I just think this is like fun to think about and also very sad.
Yeah.
Because I always want to be the younger person in that situation.
Yeah. There is something about youth and older men. I don't know. I get it.
And older women. I don't know if you ever saw Carol, but like.
Yes. Yeah.
Kate Blanchett. I mean, she did it. She did it for me.
Oh my God. Yeah.
I was like, I would Rooney Mara you any day.
I like Rooney Mara as a verb.
Yeah.
It's funny, before, as I was setting everything up, I was watching Love After Lockup, and there was an older woman, younger inmate romance happening. He hasn't been out yet, but of jail, but it's going to happen. And I was like, this is so fascinating right now. Like, they're into each other.
Yeah. Yeah, that reminds me of those, the teacher-student romances, where, like, the teacher goes away to jail and then it comes out and they're still in love. And you're like, well, that is so bizarrely sweet. I'm kind of rooting for you.
Yeah, I mean, it is. There's a lot of people who think it's, like, weird when there's romances where a person falls in love with someone that they knew as a child. But, the child grows up and they're of age for sure, but then they fall in love as adults.
Right. And I do get that. Like,
yeah.
But I guess I feel like I look at my family members that have grown up, and I knew them when they were 4 and they're like 20 now, and they're just 20. Like, they're a different person. Mm-hmm. And I do have those memories, but you hopefully don't sexualize 4-year-olds, but it's totally legit to sexualize somebody who's 20.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not that's related to you. Let's just, since we segued from one to the other, let's just
it's getting taboo.
There. That falls on the squick part.
Yeah.
Right.
Because I read one recently, and I would normally be like, oh, that's weird, but then I was like, oh my God, this worked out so well. They're so in love. I'm rooting for them, even though, like, on paper I'd be like, whoa.
Yeah. I mean, my sister-in-law is engaged to somebody who's 20 years older than she is. And there is going to be a knee-jerk reaction, because maybe what works for you is not what's, you're like, oh, no, I would never do that. Mm-hmm. But, like, ultimately, I always have to be like, that's not my relationship. Yeah. They seem really happy. And that's actually kind of amazing. So
totally. And kind of the message of Trashy.
Yeah, exactly. Just to pull it all in.
Pull it all in.
It work for you, but it's working for somebody. And don't we all just want happiness?
Yes. And we want everyone around us to be happy if we're good people. And yeah.
Right. Yeah. The world would be better if we were all
just happy for each other and ourselves. Well, thank you so much for this interview. This was so fun.
Thank you. This is really so. Becky was a virgin, and I have to tell you, this is my podcast virginity being popped.
You can check out the TSTL blog for some links to the books we discuss. So I'm off to take a cold shower. And thank you for getting hot as hell with TSTL.